The Empire has been alerted that the Bad Batch is on Bracca. It's only a matter of time before the Bad Batch come face to face with the old squad mate Crosshair. I'm John Barry, and welcome to my review of the Bad Batch Season 1, Episode 8 Reunion. So, as my introduction alludes to, the Empire has discovered the Bad Batch on Bracca, actually been alerted to by the Scrapper Guild, and so Crosshair Squad, along with a fairly decent sized detachment of regular clone troopers, are sent to apprehend the Bad Batch. Meanwhile, the Bad Batch are basically trying to scavenge the ship to see if they can get some stuff that they can use to clear their debt with Sid. By the way, barely any of the stuff they grabbed they were able to bring with them because of their escape from the Empire at this point in Crosshair. So, but a couple of things. They received the armory of the Venator with a bunch of weapons on it, and including a bunch of Republic era proton torpedoes. We also get Tech basically slicing into the ship in order to get its data, which I presume they were able to escape with, so they at least have that. And while up there, Omega asks Tech what was the war like. Now, Tech answers in generic terms, kind of almost like the answer you would expect to have on a test, but what Omega really wanted to know was what was the war like, the experiences of the war. Not what was the war being fought for, in the sense and how it was being fought, but what was it like to be in the war. And of course, Tech Reed didn't give her an answer, probably because that's not how his mind works, I would say. His mind is very analytical. It's emotion, like he has emotions and feelings, but they're not the top thing he thinks about. He thinks about things in terms of basically data and analysis, so very logically, if you will, very rationally. So for him, he couldn't really give Omega a good answer. I do wonder if Omega is going to get an answer for that. Probably in a way she kind of does, because of the ensuing action of the episode. But this question was kind of brought on when Omega was looking over the scrap fields of Bracca, and that made her ask it. And then, of course, while they're up on the bridge, a warning light goes off, and Tech initially dismisses it, figuring, oh, some wire got shorted, basically. But some people have I seen use this to somehow criticize Tech. But let's be real, not knowing that the Empire is coming, the most likely reason the proximity sensor will be going off will be a short. It's after all a scrapped wrecked ship, so of course things are not going to be working correctly. But when the when he sees the new class attack shuttles come in, he realizes, oh, actually, it was working, kind of deal. But so they regroup and they get cornered on the gun deck, the artillery deck. And something of interest to note, they have the same artillery pieces that we saw in the Clone Wars movie, not the pieces that we saw in Revenge of the Sith. This tells us this is not this ship has some older weapons on it, which means it's an older ship. That's really all it basically tells us. But they get cornered by Crosshair and the Empire there, and Crosshair gets this just heartless order to his squad to target Omega. Very, very heartless. But what do they do to get out of it? Well, they access the ship systems and get the cannons to fire, which basically destroys the deck, but gives them the opportunity to escape. Eventually, they make their way to the engines. But as we do see, Crosshair is employing some wise tactics. He's trying to funnel the Bad Batch to a trap. That's what makes them decide to head towards the engines. It's actually pretty good tactics, but we can also see during the entire scene that sequence that the clones are not thinking like clones. Like, they're patrolling the corridors and they turn left to continue the patrol. But if they had just turned their heads right, they would have discovered the Bad Batch. I think that's what's showing that the clones are much more following orders now rather than thinking. Now, they still have the ability to think and do all that, but they're focusing solely on following orders rather than making sure that they are accomplishing the mission. That's how I'm looking at it. But eventually, the Bad Batch makes their way to the engines, the ion engines of the ship, where they're again cornered by Crosshair and the Empire. Crosshair is sniping at them from a distance, and because he couldn't get a good shot at them, he orders the engines to be turned on, basically to incinerate them. And so they used some of the explosives they had acquired to basically blow the engine off the ship so that way they could escape. So they do that, but as the result of all that going on, Crosshair gets severely burnt, and that's something is interesting how that's going to affect him going forward. Some people have noticed that they could be drawing some Darth Vader parallels, but it may not be. But he's being wrapped up in bandages and is given a breathing apparatus. But that does make sense. He's freshly injured. Who knows how things will turn in the long run? We'll just have to wait till the next episode to see. But the Bad Batch do get away, but Omega and Hunter do get briefly separated, and they get to the ship first. And all the clones there are already killed. So you were made to think that 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 the rest of the squad gathered to kill them, but no, Cad Bane is there. As earlier in the episode, we get a scene with the Cameronians where they mention that they're going to be sending bounty hunters to get Omega their asset, which is Omega, before the Empire does. And so Cad Bane and Hunter get into a standoff. So basically, very Western inspired. No, you got very Western inspired music. They draw, and Hunter gets hit, and Cad Bane is still upright, and he takes Omega prisoner. And and this scene bears some resemblance to the animatic that we had for a shootout between Cad Bane and Boba Fett. So many people I know online were speculating maybe we'll get that later on, or that this is as good as we're going to get. Though some of the character designs for Cad Bane have been shown, and they show that he now has a steel plate on his head, which indicates that him and Boba have already had their shootout, which is interesting very much. But Hunter does survive. In fact, we get a scene where he's being rushed aboard by the rest of the Bad Batch, and the scene is from a first-person perspective. This is the second time we've gotten that in Star Wars animation. The first time was in Rebels with an opening scene with Kaz. But this is interesting because it actually takes a lot of inspiration from Star Wars Republic Commander, the video game, which is a fun video game, by the way. But the sound effects are the same sound effects you get when you are first waking up as a clone commander, and also I detected some similarities to also when you get revived as a clone commander, more so from there. And no, and also there's a targeting vector on Hunter's heads up display, exactly, oh, not exactly, I would say virtually the same design as Targeting Rector in Republic Commando. I just love that reference. It's just a neat little reference. And pretty much does prove that the Bad Batch's armor is elite armor as well, not standard armor. Which I very much do appreciate. It just helps set them apart more from their regular clones. The regular clone brothers, the Regs. And that is where the episode ends. I'm sure the next episode will be the Bad Batch trying to rescue Omega once they figure out who the bounty hunter is, because they're going to be in the dark on that. Maybe they'll contact Fennec Shane for some help, maybe not. For all they know, it could be Fennec Shane. Actually, no, they do know who it is because Hunter saw it. So they will know it's not Fennec Shane, so they could always approach her. But it just remains to be seen what's going to be up in the next episode. They still got to get off Brock as well. The Empire is in pursuit. So we'll just have to wait and see. But I want to hear from you. What did you think of this episode? Let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching my latest video. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to upvote and consider following the channel to stay up to date on my latest videos. And if you'd like to help support the channel, please consider subscribing at whichever tier you choose, though each tier does have its own unique benefits. Also, feel free to check me out on social media. Links are below. And as always, have a good day, a good night, wherever you are. May the force be with you always.